I really hope you're enjoying SEO Square so far. I sure do. So it's time for our second to last conference. So let me introduce you all to Carolyn Shelby, as you're seeing on screen right now, from Yoast. We're all here today gathered for this event called SEO Square. So of course we had to invite you, Carolyn, principal SEO of the most famous WordPress SEO plugin, and much more, of course. So everyone, get ready, as in just a few moments, Carolyn will go deep in content strategies for LLMs and emerging ranking systems. This is the session to help you future-proof your SEO and geo strategy. And without further ado, let's do it. Let's go for it. As usual, keep your comments polite in the chat and respect each other and our speaker. Hi, Carolyn. You may ask your questions in the chat as the conference goes on. If Carolyn has time, she'll answer them at the end of the session. And before I let you speak, yes, there will be a replay of this conference later. And so now, time to shine, right? See you, Carolyn.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for having me. Let's go ahead, and that was a lovely introduction. So we'll just go ahead and jump into it. I'm Carolyn Shelby, as she said, Principal SEO at Yoast. You might have heard of us. We do make SEO plugins for WordPress and Shopify. And I am here today to tackle one of the most pressing challenges in digital marketing. How do we ensure quality in the age of AI-generated content? AI has changed both the way the content is created and the way it's surfaced. In search and just in different platforms, because people aren't searching simply in the search engines anymore. If we want our work to stay relevant and visible, we have to adapt our definition of quality and the methods we're using to achieve that quality when we generate content. So the new SEO challenge is that AI tools have been made faster than ever, make it possible to generate so much content at scale. But there's a difference between producing this content at the speed and scale that we can now and producing quality content. And I know quality content has always been something that we've struggled with, but now it's more of an imperative, because I think that people are just turning over all of the keys to the kingdom to the AIs and letting them write the content with very minimal oversight and minimal instructions to those AIs. Low value or poorly structured AI copy is going to hurt your visibility rather than helping. And that's another thing that we're going to address later on in the talk, is the evolving way that ranking is happening. So with the search engines, where it was the more content you had, the more opportunities you had for traffic, the more traffic you got in aggregate, there is going to be a different kind of strategy that goes into your content generation. It's no longer going to be a good idea to, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. We used to call it casting a wide net, and you'd catch more fish. You need to be a little bit more focused and a little bit more thoughtful on the content you are generating. Volumes of content are not going to result in volumes of traffic increases. Those days are over. It's not going to happen anymore. So if your entire strategy was, we will just keep making new content and the traffic will come, you need to revise that. So the quality itself isn't about keywords and backlinks. Now we have to be clear, we have to be authoritative, and we have to be retrieval ready. So in addition to making content that people want to read, it needs to be structured in a way that those LLMs can come through and ingest it, read it and understand it, and then be able to extract bits of it to repurpose and serve up to the users. That's what retrieval ready means. So it needs to be credible and structured enough so the machines trust it and like it, but also that when the humans read it, they trust it and like it. Traditionally, SEO was all about rankings. If you could claim that #1 spot, you were guaranteed traffic. AI has really kind of changed those rules. Now we've got AI overviews. We've got all of the different LLMs from, Perplexity to ChatGPT, SearchGPT, ChatGPT Browse, whatever they're calling it now. There's Perplexity, there's Claude, there's all of these. Well, and there's new browsers. I think one's called Brave, LLM powered browsers. Other than Google, other than Chrome. It's not, things aren't just solely tied to rankings anymore. It's really about retrieval. Is the AI going to choose your content, retrieve your content, and cite your content when it generates these answers for people? The problem is, if you're not retrieved, even if your content is amazing, if you're not being retrieved and cited, you are now invisible. You can rank number one, but if your content cannot be retrieved and repurposed, they're going to pick someone else who can be retrieved and repurposed to cite in their answers. Being the second best answer isn't going to get you clicks. Being the best answer isn't going to get you clicks. If you're not making it into that generative synthesis layer, you're not going to be seen. Like, it's just not going to happen. So to understand how this AI search is working, we need to kind of reframe how we think about things. It's a 4-step process, and this is not gospel. This is absolutely how this works, because much like Google, it's a bit of a secret sauce. Nobody knows, and nobody is going to tell us exactly the steps that these machines are taking to go from what they start with to what they present to the end user. It's just, we have to guess. That's all there is to it. What I'm telling you here is a very simplified means of thinking about how it works. So please don't look at this and say, this is exactly how it functions, and if I operate like this, everything's going to be wonderful. This is overly simplified. Your content is effectively chunked. It's going to be split into small passages that can be picked up easily and then taken back to the LLM and processed. Sometimes they process it just to get information. Sometimes they process it to quote it or cite it in the generated answer that they give to the users. Okay? The embeddings are mathematical representations of meaning, so that when someone searches, the system is going to retrieve these chunks that best align with the query. They're going to do some math on it. They're going to then embed it all into a generated answer and give that back to the user in a way that aligns with the query and the prompt alignment. What this effectively means is it's taking information that it finds on your site, all right? It's taking it and then it's evaluating how it's going to use your information, hopefully, to respond to the question that the user asked. Because it's not looking at search queries where it's, best shoe. People aren't asking it questions like that. People are asking questions like, what would be the best shoe for me, a however old you think I am woman, who is walking 1.5 miles from the train station to my office every day in the climate where I live? Now that information that has been pulled is being manipulated and changed and presented back to the user. Instead of just saying, here's a list of all the shoes that you might like for commuting, it's going to say, because I know you're a woman, and because I know that based on your age and where you live, you have other certain things that you might like, I'm going to present these particular items back to you in a way that answers your question in a conversational way, rather than just giving you lists of links. This is why having all of the data points available on your web page, so I'm talking to you again, having the data points available all of the data points around that particular product or item that the LLMs can use and select as necessary to make sure that they align with the answer they're giving the user is going to encourage them to choose you over someone else. If your page, so we're still talking about shoes. Let's say your product page has a great deal of the product details hidden behind a tab. So the tab that's visible is maybe a promotional, this shoe is made by Nike, and it's red. So it's just a brief description. The details of that are hidden behind tabs. Because they're hidden behind tabs, the LLMs will not have access to those data points, which lessens the likelihood that they're going to recommend your page to the user because they didn't get the information about the product from your page. So even if you normally would rank number one for best commuter shoe or something like that, because it didn't provide all of the data that the LLMs needed to create their answer, they're not going to choose you. That's a very long-winded explanation of what's happening. So if we look at how do we structure things for the LLMs to make you attractive to them, we have to remember that they're not reading the page like people do. They don't have the ability to click on your tabs. They don't have an ability to untoggle things. They're just ingesting the text, and it's the text that is clear on the page at first load. It will not execute JavaScript. It will not untoggle your toggles. You have to make sure that if you want the text to be read and ingested, it has to be visible on first load. The structure of your page becomes everything. Clear headings, topic shifts, short paragraphs that make the information extractable, those chunks, lists and tables and facts. FAQs are very easy to quote. If you have, let's change from products to just a general information page. If you are prone to dense, meandering prose, let's say you were an English lit major. If you like to write like that, you might find that the information you're trying to convey is getting ignored because it's a little bit too buried in your paragraphs. I am not saying that you need to write very overly simplistic content. You're not writing for toddlers, but you are writing for more of a, I don't want to say, we usually say shoot for about 8th grade reading level. In the US, that's in the US. I'm not sure what that translates to outside of the US. 8th grade is about 13 years old. 13, 14 years old, if a 13 or 14-year-old can read it, then you're probably really in that sweet spot for how you should be crafting your content. Your job really is to package your content so that a person and a machine can both quickly understand the main message of your content and there's no reason for them to be confused about anything. So you're being clear, you're being unambiguous, and you're making it easy for them to read by not hiding it in anything that would make it hard to read. Headings, in this case, are still very important. So the reason we have headings, the reason we have an H1, H2, and H3 hierarchy isn't just to help the humans that are skimming the content, but it's to provide structure and order and flow. The H1 is the topic of your whole page, the overarching topic. The H2 is a heading that supports your main topic. It's a major heading. H3s would support the H2 that they're underneath. So all of it is helping you create an outline. And the outlines are there to ensure that everything has a logical place, it appears in a logical order, and there's meaning, not just to each individual section, but to the whole story arc of the page. Your paragraphs should be short-ish. Like I said, you're not writing A Tale of Two Cities. You're not writing Moby Dick. This should be easy to consume. You don't want it to be too long. You don't want it to be overly simplistic. You want them to be single concept paragraphs that are focused and extractable. The lists, as I said before, lists are direct answers, basically. It's just, this is the question. These are all the answers. Boom, 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 boom. The LLMs do like those because they're plain text and it's easy to extract the answers associated quickly with the questions. Tables, they love those too. They love comparisons. And they also love those FAQs. Those are gold mines for the AI summarizers. One of the things that it's a big mistake that I see now in AI era SEO is people often assume that because the AIs and the LLMs are very good at semantically understanding the question, or they instinctively know that if you're talking about a dog and you say puppy, you mean a dog. You might mean a young dog. It might just be your affectionate term for any dog, but they know that dog and puppy are the same thing. They might know that, I don't want to keep going with animal things. Boy, buds might be just short for earbuds. Car, automobile, those are all synonyms, right? So the LLMs are good at picking those out, but people are SEOs in particular mistakenly assume that because the LLMs are good at figuring that out, that is going to translate to, I don't have to cover my keyword bases on the content that I'm producing because the LLMs will figure it out. The problem is the LLMs don't figure it out at that level. There's a difference between what's in their training data and what they're able to articulate back to the user and the content that they're grabbing at the retrieval layer. The retrieval layer still depends a lot on literal language. And the reason is because they're getting their search rankings from somewhere that's not them. They're constructing queries, search queries, based on what the user asks, so what the user prompt is. And it's going out and it's feeding that into a search engine and it's getting the results back, and then it's choosing from the results. So if you are very specific in your language, or even if you're not intentionally specific, a good example is I was searching for some of my own content and I said something about LLM. And it turned out that in the title and first paragraph of the article that I thought was going to come up, I didn't say LLM, I said AI-driven search. So to me, why would that not come up? Obviously, this is the same thing and I meant the same thing. But the queries that came up had opportunities to do more of an exact match, so they did. So what this means is you need to make sure that you are speaking your searcher's language, and this still involves keyword research. If you know that the product you are selling is most commonly referred to as X, you need to make sure that you use that term in your product descriptions and on your page. Write the way your readers and your users will speak and therefore search for you. Having this alignment is going to dramatically increase your chances of being included. So in addition to making sure that you've got the structure and you've got the language matched up, we do need to still address authority in an AI world. Clarity isn't enough. Structure isn't enough. Authority matters a lot in this new world that we're in. The LLMs that are doing these live searches are getting their search data from somewhere. You have to rank somewhere before you have the opportunity to be cited by the LLMs. This is where, EEAT, even though that is a thing that Google effectively made up, still matters. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. AI tools are more likely to cite recognized experts, verified brands, and content with clear credentials because those are things that are most likely to rank very high in the searches that are being done. Because remember, at the retrieval layer, it's still about ranking. Doesn't mean you have to rank number one for everything. It also means that you have a greater opportunity to be cited even if you don't rank number one for everything. But you do have to rank somewhere because the LLMs are not running their own search engines. There's speculation that they might, but right now we know that they are not. They're getting that search data from somewhere. You do still need to make an attempt to rank in the traditional search engines, and part of that is paying attention to that authority. Make sure that you're adding your author biographies and you're interlinking with your authors' other works, with their email address, things that tie your authors to their entities. Make sure that people have claimed their entities. There's I believe it's called Wikimedia. That might be the website. I'd have to refresh my memory. You can go to that and you can see all of the entity data that is available for you or for your brand or for your company. And you can edit that and make updates to it and corrections, but making sure that you exist as an entity and that everything is correct, and connecting you to all of the places that you write, or connecting your brand to all of the places that you publish content, or connecting your brand to all of the products that you offer. All of these things are going to help feed into the LLMs and help increase their understanding of you as an entity, which will increase your authoritativeness and trustworthiness. I know that one was kind of complicated, but it's definitely still something that you have to pay attention to. So let's talk next about spotting low quality AI content in your writing. So you're doing all of the SEO things, but now you're also focused on making sure that you're utilizing the tools to generate lots of content now. You're sending the content out, you're saying, here, we're going to just scale our content so rapidly. We're going to take over everything. It's going to be amazing. What I need you to do, though, is make sure that you're checking over that content and you're providing guardrails to make sure that you're not putting out low quality content that's going to erode your customers' trust in you as a brand or you as a publisher. So the red flags would be the AI cadence, which is how when you're reading, you know it when you hear it. You know that it was artificially written. Hallucinations it's still a huge problem. And then, just in general, thin coverage. The AI cadence is a short, dramatic, almost, I don't know if you remember infomercials. They were big in the 80s and 90s. It's an infomercial style writing. It's just very dramatic. Everything sounds very either profound or like a crisis. It's not a way humans naturally write. It's a way humans naturally talk when they're trying to persuade you to do something, but it's not a natural writing method. And readers notice this. And the longer the piece that you write, the more readers will notice if it was entirely AI generated, because the AIs cannot help themselves but write like that. Then there's missing terminology. AI might paraphrase some of your directives, even if you give it instructions like, these are the keywords that I know our users are going to search for. Make sure you use these keywords. It still might paraphrase or change some of the language to make the writing better. Doesn't mean that the writing's better. It just, the AI thinks that it is. Factual errors are another huge, huge problem. If you release the AI and tell it to do too much at once and it doesn't know answers, or if it's just trying to write something for you, it's definitely not fact checking anything that it's saying. It will make things up, and it will sound very confident and authoritative in these lies that it's telling. You have to go in and make sure that you're not publishing anything that is unfactual, because that is a huge, huge, huge risk. So I do want to help you determine how to spot the AI cadence. This is what AI cadence sounds like. So as you're reading and you hear it in your brain, it's like, AI is transforming SEO. It changes everything. Are you ready? The rules have shifted. Rankings don't matter anymore. Visibility is the new game. If you want to win, you need to adapt. It sounds like a trailer for a movie. It's not, this is not how normal people write. One of the things that happens when you're reading these very short sentences is periods and punctuation are like rest notes in music, and they tell you when to breathe. So you find yourself taking all of these very rapid breaths, and you start to like it's trying to make you excited. It's trying to evoke an emotional response, and that's fine once in a while. But you do not want to do that constantly, because if you're doing it constantly, people will become exhausted and they will stop reading what you're writing, and it will no longer be useful. You have Will the machines like it? Probably. They wrote it, but the people won't like it. And you have to find that balance between things that the machines like and things that humans will like too. Because if you send a human to an article that is written solely for the LLMs, they're not going to like it. It's going to read like an infomercial, and it's going to feel shallow and repetitive and untrustworthy. You can write exactly what I just wrote in a better way. I'm saying the exact same thing here. SEO is evolving rapidly with AI. Instead of focusing solely on rankings, success now depends on whether your content is clear enough to be retrieved and cited in AI-generated answers. That shift doesn't just change tactics. Rather, it changes what quality means. To stay visible, we need to create content that's structured, authoritative, and genuinely useful. That's how people write. Varied sentence lengths, natural rhythms, minimal rhetorical hype. You're adding nuance, you're adding explanation, and you're establishing your authority and your clarity. This is not how the AIs will default to writing. They have trained on so much speech, so much verbal content that has just been transcribed into text, that they cannot stop themselves from writing like they're scripting an infomercial. It's your job to go in and fix that to increase your authoritativeness. So your safeguards and workflow. This is how we're going to blend the speed of AI with human oversight. It all is going to start with strong prompts. We're giving AI the right context and the right tone. Next, we're going to enforce structural standards, headings, short paragraphs, lists. Always add a human editorial review to fix that cadence and make sure that you're aligned with your brand voice. You have to fact check everything, absolutely everything. The AIs do not know the sky is blue. They do not know up from down. You have to double check all of that, because if it sounds good, they will say it, and that doesn't mean that it's true. You have to reinforce EEAT by doing the appropriate extra stuff, adding the bios, the credentials, the references. AI can definitely speed up your draft, but your humans have to secure and enforce the quality. So let's talk a little bit about content strategy in general. There is a belief that the way in which the AIs are deciding what content to choose is using something called a reciprocal rank fusion. It's a means of getting multiple, I guess, kind of, this is sort of what grounding is. You're getting a lot of different results for variations of the same query. This is kind of like that fan out. So you ask a question, it's going to extrapolate different aspects of that question that either you might have also meant or might be asking shortly. It's basically trying to make sure that it covers all of your intent and desire when it answers your question. But what it means is it's getting multiple sets of results back. Then it's assigning weights to each of those result lists and combining them, and then taking the best from that combined answer. Let me see if I can explain that This isn't the best graphic, so I apologize for that. Instead of relying on a single model to decide what's number one, the reciprocal rank fusion is going to blend multiple retrieval models kind of together. And the implication strategically here is huge. You don't need to obsess about being number one for a single trophy keyword. What's going to matter is showing up well across multiple facets of the query. When a large language model is fanning out a search into different subqueries, you want that content to appear in each of those variations. So in practice, this means building content that covers a topic comprehensively enough to answer the different angles of a query. You want to use consistent terminology so that you're showing up in multiple retrieval passes. And then you want to deliver the clarity and authority across the board, not just on one narrow ranking signal. If you think of it this way, being solid across the spread is going to beat being perfect in one place. So you're not chasing a single trophy term anymore. I mean, you can chase it, but you need to make sure that you've got all of the other aspects and bases covered. You're going to be far better off for having the same piece of content rank for, let's say in the top 10, just in the top 10, doesn't even have to be in the top 3, in the top 10 for the different variations of the query, then you are having it be number one for that trophy term, but then not at all or not anywhere near the top 10 for the variations. It's a much different strategy than we're just going to keep generating the same content over and over again about the same keywords, but just slight differences because freshness. And it's also different in that you don't necessarily want a single page on each aspect of a given topic. A deep page, deep in terms of information on a single topic, will have better opportunities to show up in more of these fanned out queries. So let's look at like a Wikipedia page. A Wikipedia page is a single topic, but everything you would ever want to know about that topic, right? So that single URL will show up in zillions of different searches because it covers all the different aspects of that same thing. Whereas if you did a thing where it's like puppies, okay? Puppies that are brown, puppies that are white, puppies that have polka dots, puppies that have floppy ears, puppies that have fluffy tails. You don't want all of those on individually separate pages. You would want a single page about everything you could ever know about puppies effectively. You need to examine your content strategy to make sure that you're not basing your content strategy on an outdated ranking model, I guess is the short version of everything I just said. So how are we going to measure SEO quality today? Rankings and traffic still matter, but it's not the whole story. So making sure that you're included in AI overviews, you're getting cited in Perplexity or ChatGPT, those are the new KPIs. Engagement metrics like click-through rate, dwell time, and scroll depth, these are critical indicators of human quality. Your knowledge graph, the accuracy in that knowledge graph is going to show machine trust. And then you've got your backlinks and mentions and citations, which are all going to affect your authority. So the quality of SEO today is multidimensional. All of these things that I just mentioned are absolutely trackable. They might not all be trackable in the same tool. So you might need a couple different tools to track everything, but you can absolutely track these things and the effect that they're having on your traffic. So the key takeaways here, if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember that AI has really reshaped both how we create content and how it's retrieved. SEO quality now means clarity, authority, and oversight. Structure your content for both machines and humans. Watch out for red flags like that awful AI cadence. And remember, future-proofing SEO is about blending the speed of AI with human strategy and oversight. If you can do that, all of your content will all of your content will remain visible, trusted, and competitive. So as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this thought. In the age of AI, clever isn't what's going to win. Clear wins. Machines don't reward wordplay or jargon. They reward content that is unique, genuinely valuable, and easy to extract. If your content checks these boxes, you won't just survive in an AI-driven landscape, you will thrive. Because at the end of the day, clarity is what serves both the user and the machine. So thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, I'm Carolyn Shelby, and if you would love to continue the conversation, as I would, you can reach me at carolyn.shelby@yoast.com or find more information about Yoast at yoastliketoast.com.
Oh, what a great way to remember how to write it down. Thanks a
It
lot,
is,
Carolyn.
it's tricky to
Cool.
remember, so I found it helpful.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that, people who are here at the SEO Square kind of know about Yoast. But great way to remember. Loving it. Thanks a lot, Carolyn, for this amazing conference. So now I'm seeing the time. Unfortunately, we are just a bit out of time, so I'm very sorry for everyone. There will be no time for a Q&A, but don't worry, as what you just said, Carolyn, apparently people can go and find you on LinkedIn and write to you by email, right?
Absolutely. I'm happy to
Amazing.
connect, and I'm also happy to answer questions.
Well, that's great. So then we'll just have a time for a last quick break before the last session of the afternoon with Valisha Butterfield. So everyone, don't forget to take 5 minutes and to scan the QR code you can see right now on your screen. It will lead you to a survey that will help MG, help me, work on a big geo study that will publish in November. As for me, it's goodbye and see you next SEO Square. For French-speaking people, we'll see each other next week for the French edition. And then, once again, thank you very much, Carolyn. It was really great, really interesting. I hope people took notes on everything you just said. Thanks a lot, everyone. And time now for a last quick break, as I said, before the last session of the afternoon. See you. Bye.